We're on the record. It's 2:16. This is tape 4.
If I could ask you to please just go back to Exhibit 7 briefly. Should be not too far down the list here.
Okay.
And if I recall, this is the resolution that was done in conjunction with entering into the contract with FPU. And I forgot to ask you, Section 5, just a little bit above your signature on the second page, says this action is being taken in lieu of the initiation of condemnation proceedings by the city and under threat of condemnation by the city of the assets of Florida Public Utilities Company, Fernandina Beach Water Division. And I know we'd had some discussion about whether or not condemnation was something that the city had considered, and I wanted to bring that to your attention to see if that sparked any recollection as to whether or not the city did this, seriously considered condemnation as one of their avenues for acquiring the FPU system.
No.
No, they didn't seriously consider it?
No.
Okay, but was it part of the discussion?
May have been, I don't recall.
Okay. If it was, it's not a prominent part of the discussion from your recollection?
No.
I wanted to also point out, you had talked about, I think you said if it was something that you didn't want to be part of a long conversation, it's something that might be held at a 5 o'clock meeting when you were talking
Sometimes, I mean, sometimes we don't want to bog down a meeting with something we know is going to take an hour discussion, so we might have a 5 o'clock meeting or a 5 o'clock workshop to discuss it at that particular point.
I guess if you host a 5 o'clock workshop in advance of a 6 o'clock commission meeting, that does tend to put some limitations on what gets discussed at 5.
Sir.
And the reason I mentioned that is when we went back and looked at this Exhibit 11, it does say that it was done in the commission chambers at 5 p.m. On March 18, 2003. So recognizing that this indicates 5 p.m. and the regular minutes say 6 p.m., I guess my question would be, do you know if you attended the earlier of the two meetings?
You know, I cannot recall. I cannot recall whether I did or I didn't.
Okay. At the earlier of the two meetings is where the $1,500 fee, the water capacity fee is set on the exhibit. On the earlier, the resolution, yes, arising out of that meeting.
Okay.
And my only question was, had there been any discussion amongst the commission members or in hearing from their constituents, any complaints or concerns about the $1,500 fee?
Not to my recollection. The only complaint that I remember, the only negative thing was when we went to enact the ordinance for the 25% people in the unincorporated area. They were not really too thrilled with that.
I'm sorry? They were not what?
Too thrilled with that.
They were not clamoring to sign up for the 25%
No, they were not.
upcharge?
No, sir.
Not shocking, right?
No, sir.
Staying with Exhibit 11 for a moment, if you look down at the bottom under Section 2, it says that Hartman and Associates have completed a comprehensive analysis of the system and presented their analysis for the rates, fees, and charges necessary for the operation of the system. In Section 2, it says the rates, fees, and charges as recommended by HAI are necessary for the safe operation of the water system. There's no safety concerns about the operating of the water system at that point, were there?
Not that I recall.
Do you have this strikes me as sort of an odd phrasing to say that, for instance, a water impact fee or capacity fee is necessary for the safe operation of the system. Is that?
I can't speak to that. I don't have the expertise in that area.
Okay. But this is commission action, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so presumably if you were here, you would have voted on this, yea or nay?
Yes, sir.
But as we sit here today, you have no idea what it is, why that phrasing of safe operation is in there?
No, sir.
I think you said that the resolution does not have any force of law.
No, it generally has to be enforced by an ordinance.
Okay. But the $1,500 fee that's on that Exhibit A, that is the amount that ultimately was instituted for the impact fee
Yes,
for
sir.
water? Do you have any recollection today as to what types of public disclosure, if I was to ask you, what are the public disclosures that were made in advance of the water fee being adopted at $1,500? Could you tell me what those were?
The ordinance was advertised in the newspaper and various other places that we advertise, posted around town.
And is that, when you say it's advertised, is the actual verbiage of the ordinance advertised?
I believe the title of the ordinance is advertised.
Just the title?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if one wants to know in advance that an impact fee is going to be passed, they've got to get it out of the title being advertised?
Yes.
I guess the other question, sticking with 11, Section 1 refers to a comprehensive analysis. And again, this is Hartman and Associates performing the comprehensive analysis as it relates to the water capacity fee. Do you know what that comprehensive analysis is?
No, you'd have to ask Mr. Hartman about that. I can't recall at this particular point.
Would you expect something like that to be in some sort of formalized writing, like the impact fee study we looked at for the wastewater system?
I'm sure Mr. Hartman prepared some sort of report, but I don't recall exactly what it is or what it said. You would have to ask him about that.
All right. And if he was to tell us that he did a calculation but never did a report, would that be consistent with your recollection as well?
I don't recall at all.
As the mayor, would you have wanted such a report when you're making a decision like an impact fee
I
on new
can't say that I
residents?
didn't have one. I don't remember.
I get it.
You know.
I'm simply saying, would you have wanted one?
I can't remember. I don't know. You know, you're asking me.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd want one or not. I mean, we paid this guy a considerable amount of money to perform his services, and he did prepare many reports, so I don't, you know, whether he did or he didn't prepare that one or not, I can't.
So in terms of just generally describing what type of information you'd like available to you as a city commissioner in advance of making a decision like an impact fee being imposed, would you have wanted that report to be available to you should you choose to read it?
I'm sure if there was a report done, I know it was available to us if a report was done.
Okay. But you have no recollection of seeing it?
I can't say that I did or I didn't. I mean, I don't, you know. I mean, look what you've given me today. This is all.
It's a big transaction.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to remember what I saw here today, tomorrow.
The what? Yeah, that's an interesting question. When we talked about the $1,500 impact fee earlier, I believe you corrected me that Mr. Hartman actually had a calculation that was something less than that. It was $1,490 some odd dollars.
$99.79.
And
like that.
recognizing that you've got that recollection, where did you see that?
He gave us a report in the beginning of May as to how we calculated the impact fee.
And when you say the beginning of May, this is 2013?
Yes.
Okay, so some 10-plus years after the impact fee was initiated, that's when you gained an understanding of how it was he calculated it?
Well, I remember he explained it to me at one point, or to us at one point, but I didn't retain it.
when you were hearing about it in May of 2013, did it spark a recollection? Oh yeah, this is what I heard before.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I knew that he had a method to his madness. I just didn't retain how he went about it.
Okay. And so, to the extent that you had prior information about the method to his madness, can you specifically recall how it was that you gained that information?
No, I cannot. And that's one of the things, you're asking me things that happened 11 years ago.
Sure.
I don't remember very many details. There are a few things that I recall very vividly. Otherwise,
Like Mr. Kavanaugh being at the meeting?
Mr. Kavanaugh being at the meeting, there are a couple other things too, but, you're asking me, I don't recall those things. It was 11 years ago.
Okay. Was it important at the time?
I can't recall. I guess I must have, I don't remember if I considered it important at the time.
I mean, I think you've characterized a lot of this as staff work, correct?
Yes.
And that was not necessarily the habit or protocol of the commissioners to involve themselves heavily in staff work.
That's correct.
And so ultimately, a recommendation or an option was presented to the commission that they would either say yes or no.
By and large, that's the case, and if there was a need for further clarification, we asked for it.
Okay. So we were talking about so Mr. Hartman had a methodology to what he did that resulted in the $1,500 impact fee, correct? And you saw something in 2013 where Mr. Hartman did new work to explain what he did before. Is that fair?
Well, I don't think he did new work. He recapped what he did in 2003 or 2002.
Okay. But he created a new report that was sent to the commission.
It wasn't sent to the commission.
Who was the recipients of that?
Well, I got a copy of it.
Okay.
I believe our senior attorney got a copy of it.
But it was something that he drafted in 2013, correct?
Yes.
So to the extent that he was drafting it in 2013, it's new work, even if he's explaining what he did years before.
Oh, I guess if you want to classify it that way, he may be recapping old work.
Okay. Can I have 12, please?
Are we moving on?
Oh, I don't know how much.
We're done with 8 and 9?
You can put them back. Yes, thank you. Oops, sorry. This is PRR 4150. We've marked it as Exhibit 12 to your deposition. Mr. Gerrity, we've been talking about resolutions and actions taken on March 18, 2003 that set the water capacity fee, correct?
Yes.
And let me ask again, to the extent, do you have a recollection of who, if anyone, on behalf of the city, was reviewing the water capacity fee to ensure it complied with Florida law?
I believe it must have been Ms. Braga, because I don't think, I've said before, I don't believe we had any outside legal counsel other than the bond attorney.
Well, I'm going to reference this Exhibit 12 here. It's an email from Daryl Parker, who is one of Jerry Hartman's associates there at HAI, to Ms. Braga, and it's approximately 2 weeks before the commission meeting on March 18, where the water impact fee was approved, correct? March 6.
Well,
I'm sorry, it's approximately 2 weeks before,
Yes.
12 days before, I'm sorry, 16.
That's good.
12.
12 days.
Math,
yeah.
not my strong
I didn't know
point.
what you were referring to.
Sure. So this is right before that, correct?
Right.
And what was adopted was a $1,500 per equivalent residential unit, correct? Could you take a look and read this email, please?
Okay.
At any point prior to sitting down for your deposition today, have you ever seen this email before?
No, I have not.
Were you aware that Hartman and Associates were saying prior to passing the impact fee, that the $1,500 impact fee should not be considered or relied upon for an impact fee analysis?
I'm going to object to the form.
No, I don't know anything about this. I've never
Okay.
seen it before. You'd have to ask Jerry Hartman as to the validity or the reasoning. Jerry Hartman was our representative. It wasn't Mr. Parker. Never heard of him.
Never heard of Mr. Parker?
Never heard of Mr. Parker.
Okay. So do you know if Mr. Parker ever presented to the City Commission on behalf of Hartman and Associates?
I don't believe he did.
Okay.
Not to my recollection, anyway.
All right. So is it your understanding then that Jerry Hartman personally conducted all of the work that he did on behalf of the city? Or did others at Hartman Associates assist him?
I don't. Well, you mentioned a woman that was working with him.
Jennifer Woodall?
Yes, Jennifer Woodall. And, but I don't know. I'm not privy to the interworkings of his company.
Okay. So reading it today, though, and we've got something from Darrell Parker, who's considered, it looks like he is a senior management consultant working at Hartman and Associates, correct? Mm-hmm. To your city attorney, roughly 12 days before you passed the impact fee ordinance, correct? Mm-hmm.
I'm
And,
going to object to the form.
sure. And he's saying here that the attached document provides some financial calculations supporting the $1,500 water impact fee, as we discussed on Tuesday. However, the document should be considered only as support information and should not be considered or relied upon as an impact fee analysis. And my question to you is, was it ever communicated to you prior to the commission acting on the $1,500 water capacity fee or water impact fee that Hartman and Associates said it could not be relied upon as an impact fee analysis?
No, it was
Object to
not.
the form.
And I don't know. You would have to ask that question of Jerry Hartman. I'm sure that this is not his only document in support of that fee. So I really can't provide you with any more information on this.
Sure.
It's the first time I've seen it.
Okay, and you see where Mr. Mearns is one of the people that's copied on this email?
Yes.
And he was the city's principal negotiator with FPU?
Yes.
And then also JLW, I believe that's Jennifer Woodall.
I'm going to object to the form.
Sure. And I'd ask you to pay attention, please, and direct your attention to the last sentence of the first paragraph. It says, as such, in order to avoid opening the ordinance up to scrutiny of the calculation methodology, the ordinance should simply state the fee and how it is applied. Are you aware of any discussions at the time as to whether or not the calculation methodology should be part of the ordinance?
I'm going to object to the form.
No, I was not aware of it.
I'm sorry, what is the objection? I'm simply asking him whether or not he knew at the time that they'd made this communication. What's objectionable about that
He's
form?
already answered that, but the objection to the form is that there's no predicate for this document.
Okay.
It's hearsay.
Okay. So,
He's already said he's never seen it.
okay.
He can't authenticate it.
I'm not asking him to. It's a public record response. It's PRR 004150. I've never asked Mr. Gerrity to authenticate it. I'm simply asking him questions about what he knew was going on at the time, contemporaneous with the time of this email. So I appreciate you're welcome to object to form. I was just trying to understand
Okay.
your objection to the extent that I needed to change the form of my question to remove the objection. So again, subject to Ms. Trudy's objection, I'll try again. Were you aware at the time that the commission was voting on the $1,500 water capacity fee or impact fee, that Hartman and Associates personnel had said it can't be relied upon as an impact fee analysis?
Was I aware of this memo? No, I was not.
Okay, and independent of this specific memo, were you aware that anyone at Hartman and Associates had said, yeah, we calculated this, but you can't rely on it as an impact fee analysis?
No, I did not. I was not aware of that.
Does that surprise you?
Does what surprise me?
The fact that they were saying this at the time?
No, it's one document. You can't take it out of context of pages and pages of documents. I'd have to review the whole thing before I'd say I was surprised or not surprised.
Did Deborah Braga ever communicate to anyone that this was what Hartman was saying about the analysis?
It wasn't Hartman. It was one of his employees.
Which are Hartman and
It
Associates?
was Mr. Parker. No.
Okay. Mr. Burns, did he ever communicate this to you?
No, he did not.
Does the ordinance actually include the calculation methodology, or is it just simply set an amount?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
Okay. We'll look back at the ordinance then in a moment. Just keep guessing. Yeah, it looks like the ordinance then is Exhibit 8 to your deposition. This is the same one where we talked about the required improvements, PRR 2079. I just asked you to Is it a true statement then that this would have been passed at the regular meeting at 6 o'clock? And again, this is in accordance with Plaintiff's Exhibit 9, and I'll represent you PR 1970. And I'm sorry, 1972. So the ordinance number 2003-06, do you see anywhere in there where it talks about how the water capacity fee was calculated?
No, but he does make references to several reports that he did.
Okay, and where are those?
They are on the top of page 2080. Now, I don't know what's in those reports, and I don't know that he needs to put a methodology in an ordinance either.
Sure. But would you agree, though, to the extent that a representative of Hartman and Associates has said, don't put the methodology in the ordinance on March 6, 2003, on March 18, 2003, the city passed the ordinance and the methodology is not in there?
No, I would not agree with that. Again, this is an isolated document.
How do you know it's isolated, sir?
Well, it's the only one. Jerry Hartman here, Hartman and Associates.
Okay.
He provided a Florida statute briefing document, Phase 1 environmental assessment, a due diligence report, consulting engineers report. This is one document out of thousands he created.
Sure, and any of the ones you just talked about, do you know if any of them
No.
include anything about
I
the
do not
calculation of
know.
the water capacity
I
fee?
do not know. Do you?
I do.
Okay.
And if, for a moment, that none of those documents include that calculation, do you know where you saw it?
Do I know
Object to the form.
where I saw what?
The calculation that supports the $1,500,
No, I
Fee.
don't remember.
other than the 2013 work that he
I
did
do
in
not
May?
remember.
Okay. Let's go there then. Can I have 21, please? We're marking as Exhibit 21 to your deposition. You'd mentioned some work done by Jerry Hartman in May of 2013, and that said that you'd read something that supported his calculation. Is this that document?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Do any of the document or any of the attachments indicate that they are simply just, hereby exhibit is the analysis I did in 2002 or 2003?
Do they note that this is the analysis he did in 2002 or
Well, sure.
2003?
And here's what I'm thinking.
No, he didn't note that.
Okay. I mean, if I'd done work before, and I'm asked to, I think you say he just revisited work that he did previously, correct? And I don't think I quite got your words correctly, but that was something that you were not comfortable with the idea that he was doing new work here in May of 2013, correct?
I would assume that would be the case, yes.
Okay. But as we look at the document that comprises Exhibit 21, I think my expectation would be if he did a report in 2002 or 2003, he'd simply say, here's what I did for my analysis. If you look at Exhibit A, which is my report from that time period. Do you see anything like that?
No.
And so in terms of you having an understanding of what went into Mr. Hartman's analysis to support the water impact fee, is that what's reflected here on the first 2 pages of this exhibit? I think it's, was it 577 and 578 are at the bottom?
Yes, sir.
Do you have an independent recollection of this information being communicated to you in 2002 or 2003 as the city was considering the
Certainly not in
impact
this
fee?
format. Not in this format. The information may have been...
What do you recall being communicated to you then at the time?
I just remember asking Mearns about the amount of the fee, and he said that this is the way he did it, and this is the way, and I don't remember the specifics.
So to the extent that you got an understanding in 2002 or 2003, it came from Mr. Mearns and not Mr. Hartman?
Yes. And again, we rely on staff as elected officials.
Do you know why the city asked Hartman to do this? You indicate this was not the city commission, but if you look at the first page, it appears to be a letter directed to the city commission, correct?
Yes, I don't know. I would have to admit, I would have to assume that one of our legal team asked for this document.
Okay, but it's not directed to any of your legal team members. It says, "Dear City Commissioners," correct?
Right.
And it says, "Per the city's request," right here at the top.
I don't doubt that. That's
Okay.
correct.
Was this presented at some sort of open meeting of the city commission?
No, it was not. As a matter of fact, I believe the city attorney sent it to me, and I forwarded it to the city commissioners.
Okay. Why was this work, why was Mr. Hartman asked to do this?
Oh, we're in the middle of a lawsuit, and he was a
Okay.
consultant. That's, I really haven't delved too much into the lawsuit because we have a lot of attorneys that are working on it for us. So you would have to ask someone other than me.
So at least, as you sit here today, you don't have any understanding then as to why the city requested Mr. Hartman to do this work in May of 2013, other than you're involved in a lawsuit?
That's correct.
So it's your understanding that the legal folks at the city is the ones that would have asked Jerry Hartman to do this?
I would imagine someone on our legal team did. I don't know if it was the legal folks at the city.
Okay. And what's marked as Exhibit 22, your deposition? It looks like this is a series of emails. Have you seen these before?
Yes.
All right. And the first one is from Jerry Hartman, directed to you, correct?
Yes. Well, to me and Mark at bmollaw.com.
Sure. But you're one of the recipients, correct?
Yes.
And looks like there are 2 items listed on the subject line. One is extra work on impact fees, and the second one is extra work on, and it breaks it down, but includes new engineering report for the capacity fees bonds. What is it that the city was asking Mr. Hartman to do?
I don't know. I called and touched base with him
Okay. What caused you to call him?
because I knew that he worked for us on the initial acquisition.
Okay, so did you just call him out of the blue? And what, Mr. Hartman's email indicates that
You
you
know, I
called
can't
on
remember.
Friday.
I can't remember why I called him, quite frankly.
Could you estimate over the course of the last, say, 10 years, how often you've called Jerry Hartman?
Yeah, twice.
Okay. When was the first time?
It's not an estimate either, it's exact.
Excellent. When was the first time?
You know, I don't even know. He may have called me. Just remember that initial contact I had with him about a year and a half ago?
Okay, this is when he stopped by?
When he just stopped by.
So he
yeah.
called to see if you were in the office, and then he came by?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the
that's the
second
first one.
time,
And the
looks
second
like you initiated a call to
I
him,
must have
correct?
called him, and he was out of town. And I was probably asking him about the impact fee case.
Okay. And what is it that you were wanting to ask him about the impact fee case?
What he remembered about the impact fee charge, or the capacity charge, or whatever you want to call it, whatever we referred it to at the time.
And so what were your thought process that, you know, except for a
Because-
moment that it's not necessarily a
Because I
typical thing.
remembered, as I've said to you several times earlier, he had a process that he went through. I wanted him to reiterate that process to us so we knew how he reached his conclusions.
Were you able to look at anything in the city records to indicate to you, or have any staff member on your behalf reveal any city records that would have told you how it was he reached his conclusions back in 2002?
I didn't bother asking.
You didn't bother asking? When you
Why
talked
do
to-
that when you can get it right from the horse's mouth?
Oh, sure. But when you say get it right from the horse's mouth, he wasn't able to send you a document from 2002 or 2003, was he?
I didn't ask him to send me a document.
Okay. So you weren't interested in getting whatever his contemporaneous
I
report
wanted
was?
to know how he calculated. If he told me over the phone, that would have been fine with me.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm sure he didn't remember either.
Did he indicate to you he didn't remember?
Actually, if you notice, I didn't talk to him. He responded by email.
Okay.
And at that particular point, I sort of dropped the whole thing on it.
So he didn't precisely answer your question, did it? He just simply said he no longer works for the firms he worked for back at that time, but he has the ability to go get documents, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he looks like he says, I will reproduce it, write a short memo on it, and transmit the same to BMO. I would expect the endeavor to cost no more than $3,500. So he's looking for, what, authorization to get paid for doing some work?
Yeah, and I didn't have the ability to authorize that. That's a city attorney that had to authorize that.
Okay. So what did you, and I guess I'm curious also, Mr. Hartman's letter that we just looked at a moment ago is Exhibit 22? That's dated May 5, 2013. But your email to him asking him for the calculation, and his quoting a price to do that calculation is dated 6 days later on May 11, 2013. Do you have any idea why it is that...
I can't answer that for
Let
you.
me finish my question if I could,
Okay.
please. Do you have any idea why it is that the date of the work is May 5, 2013, when the request is on, or the communication about doing the work is on May 11?
No, I can't answer that question for you. It's very possible that work was initiated prior to my phone call or my email.
In any of your communications with Mr. Hartman, was he ever asked to backdate anything?
No. Nor do I think he would.
Why do you believe he would not?
There's no upside to that.
How are we doing on tape, sir?
You have about 50 minutes.
50? I feel like I've been talking longer.
Do you want an answer?
Why don't we take about 5 minutes? I want to look around and kind of see what I'm going to do next, if anything. Go off the record.
We're off the record. 3, 2, we're back on the record.
Let's score a sticker on that one, please, 36. Thank you. Mr. Gerrity, I'm showing what has been marked as Exhibit 36 to your deposition, and ask you to take a look at it.
Is there anything in particular you want me to look at?
Well, first off, do you recognize this, sir?
Well, yes, it's the minutes of a special meeting on February 27th, 2003.
And this does not appear to be signed by you, but there is a signature spot for you. And these were produced pursuant to a public records request and commence with PRR 002641. And turning your attention to the first page, it indicates that Mayor Joe Gerrity was presiding at the meeting. Do you recall a meeting on February 27, 2003 as part of the bond issuance to support the transaction from FPU?
Do I recall it? No.
Do you have any reason to believe the minutes are inaccurate?
No, I do not.
We were speaking a moment ago about an email from Daryl Parker to Deborah Braga and Robert Burns and a JLW at HI Associates, and you indicated that you didn't believe Mr. Parker had ever addressed the commission, correct?
Yes, and I see that he did address the commission.
So having now had a chance to look at this, does this refresh your recollection at all as to whether or not Mr. Parker had addressed the commission?
Sure.
And he did, in fact, address the commission.
According to these minutes, he certainly did.
Sure. And it appears that Mr. Parker was the one making the recommendations or the discussions with the commission on the approval of the recommendations on water rates, fees, and charges, correct?
Yes.
And so, and this was roughly 1 week before he sent the email to Deborah Braga that we talked about earlier?
Roughly.
And which one is the interrogatory responses? Usually might be marked as Exhibit 14. I'd ask you to direct your attention to what is the third page of that document. And in the middle of it, it says interrogatory number 2.
I'm sorry, hang on, I'm on the wrong page.
And it says identify the representative of the city responsible for administration and oversight of the Water System Capacity Trust Fund from March 2003 to the present. And it appears you were one of the people identified by the city as responsible for the oversight of the trust fund.
Yes?
Tell me, what is it that you do with the trust fund? What is your role?
I review it, actually, the controller reports to me, and I review her reports on a monthly basis.
Okay. Do you know how much money is in the trust fund?
No, offhand, I do not.
Not even on order of magnitude?
No, sir, I do not.
What are the other numbers, Matt?
15 through 7. 3 and 15%.
This particular lawsuit that this deposition has been taken in is a bond validation case. Do you know
Yes,
what a
sir.
bond validation case is?
Yes, sir.
Do you know why the city is undertaking to validate these bonds?
To secure the payment, make sure that the payment that we receive can be used in a certain way.
Do you have any understanding as to whether that can be done without judicial validation?
No, I don't have any understanding to that.